Hello and welcome back to xEUCF, the Extended European Ultimate Championship Finals, here in the beautiful city of Bruges in Belgium, Northern Europe. We're bringing you some mixed division action here. Final round of mixed pool play with 5 teams in 4 pools in the mixed division. So, you know, it works out a little bit differently sometimes with the way the pool games actually get played, but we are bringing you action here from the mixed pools. As we mentioned, we are here in Pool C for Catchup of Graz in Austria versus leftovers from Brno in the Czech Republic. It is leftovers beginning the game on offense, resetting into the backfield, going low, nicely scooped up before it hits the turf. Not far away from the end zone. That's a really good rising snag. It made that look a lot more easy than it was. And then just about dishes one past the mark into the end zone for the goal. Leftovers lead 1-0. I am Benjamin Rees, and I am delighted to be joined by the one and only Mr. Lorcan Murray. Lorcan, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing much better now that I'm starting to explore the full retinue of top quality commentators we have. And as I'm discovering, this is my first visit down to this field, tech is much better set up here. I can actually hear you through the headphones.
I know, amazing.
Pretty novel experience, the soundboard, the levels. The problem with that is I will try to keep myself contained as much as possible. But it's hard not to get excited when you've got quality teams fighting for their lives at the end of the day.
See, this is the thing. It's because we've... I know I've mentioned this loads of times, so if this is on a bingo card somewhere, you've got like a list of rules for a drinking game, now is your time to imbibe some Bruges. The crew on this field has come straight from the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimates Club Championships in Sardinia, which was wonderful, and huge thanks to Ignos Flying Disc and to Bula and everyone involved there who put on a great tournament. But basically, we've used all the kit there, so we feel like we got it all fine-tuned, and then we brought it here this morning. We'd set it all down, we knew everything was, and we knew how to set it all up, and then we set it all up, and then some stuff didn't work because obviously trying to take stuff in transit on a plane, even though it's in these flight cases, it gets knocked about a bit, and they try their damnedest, it seems, at times to break it, but I feel like we've got everything up and running here. Last game of the day, game 7 of 7 at 7 in the mixed division, mixed pool C, as we mentioned, between Catchup. We've had a rough day today, and Brno's leftovers. This is the only game remaining unplayed in this pool. All the others have wrapped up. And Catchup are playing their first offensive point of the game. Swinging around the back. There's a lot of noise coming from the sideline, and I imagine that means they are transitioning from zone into a match defense. Low throw, caught there by Bauer. Finds an option in the center, Bodenstein. Takes advantage of the face mark to dump it back to Dragashnig. Little fake of the dump, trying to find a player free. Oh, that is creative to get rid of it. On a high stall, went for a little push pass to try and lead the throw into space, but it hung up too much and it invited traffic, and it allowed a leftovers defender to knock the disc away. Game's first turn. Now leftovers can break. Well, they want to break all in one, but they're not going to be able to do it because it is Arjen Keinsmeyer who knocks it to the turf. And all of a sudden, back on offense. Bit of a slightly frenetic start to this game, Lorcan.
It has been a bit all over the place, a little bit messy as Graz trying to find their feet. Leftovers showing their teeth at every opportunity they get. They're constantly biting, but here comes a big shot.
It's going deep. It's going to hang. Again, it's going to invite pressure. This time they are equal and wise to it. Bodenstein isn't in the end zone yet, though, so she's going to take the dump off. Looks at the reset for a little bit, doesn't like it. Other players try and free themselves up, and the dump goes to Sebastian Bauer. He dumps off to Dragashnig.
Good patience being showed by Graz.
Well, you might have put the curse of the commentator on there, but maybe not, because they picked the shot at the right time, found the pass into the end zone for the goal. At the second time of asking, it is a hold for the Austrians, 1 apiece.
So Catchup, Graz not able to score as cleanly as leftovers did, and like you said, not having the best of times during this tournament, but still fighting it out and fighting to try and make it through into quarterfinals tomorrow.
I think beyond for Graz, it's probably beyond them. Well, it is beyond them. For Leftovers, if they win this game. Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. For Graz, not necessarily, because if a big win here could be a 3-way tie at the bottom of the pool, and then I haven't done the maths, but potentially they could come top of that 3-way tie and play a pre-quarter matchup. I think is how that works. Putti are top of the pool. They went 4-0. KFUM Örebro went 3-1 with a comeback over Catchup that we streamed earlier today. Leftovers have won just the one game against the Paris Ultimate Club, who themselves have won just the one game against Catchup. So if I mentioned if Catchup can overcome Leftovers here, 3-way tie on 1 and 3 at the bottom of the pool. Free up a little bit of space at the bottom of the pool for the potential 3-way tie, which would be exciting. Leftovers looking deep down the far sideline. I don't know whether that one came in bounds. Regardless, it wasn't able to come back enough to be caught by a receiver. So now a chance for Catchup to get their first break of the game.
I like the chance for the 3-way tie. We've seen a couple of interesting 3-way ties happen in power pools in some of the other divisions.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
Ranelagh managing to make it straight into the quarterfinals is one that comes to mind. Perhaps another one, a certain team stunning the world twice in 2 days. Once positive, once
I know, moon
negative,
catchers
yeah.
to upset Kustlafoto on Universe, first game of the weekend, and then to not even make the pre-quarters. Tough break, that one, but that is the way it goes sometimes. It's why the power pool matchup is often so intriguing, because it means you get these good teams meeting early. Anyone can take games off anyone, and if you don't play your best in every game, you could be on the wrong end of the battle.
It's a cruel mistress.
So off the turnover, trying to get the disc off the sideline. Instead, they're going to shoot it downfield. It's going to go over the head of everyone and eventually knocked to the turf. I think we've got to credit the Leftovers defender, Saurova, for getting a hand on it. And instead now they're looking underneath on offense with Brandstetter. Dumping it off. Leftovers look deep. It's going to be a couple of players underneath it. A good read in the end to leave it, and there was a Leftovers receiver who tracked it nicely right into the path in the middle of the end zone, just trying to get a spy on the number of the back of the jersey. It looks to me like number 33, which will be Karolina Żelazna with the goal, and Leftovers back in front at 2-1.
Andrzej Batuszek, the man who threw the assist, has been dishing out tasty flicks so far in this game all around the place. And that kind of distribution can really stand to the Leftovers. Remember the point they scored just before this one again. Nice shot, open space, lots of room to run onto it. Leftovers are a team to me that have always been around. They've always been hanging out, showing up at tournaments, generally as a mixed. Love the name, love the jersey even more if you ever get a chance to have a look at it.
It's very distinctive.
Very distinct, very creative, as are they. This is a team that knows each other, knows their limitations, and works to limit how much that will impact their game, maximizing strengths of each other through that kind of intimate knowledge that they naturally have. Something you could similarly say about Catchup Graz, but with the Leftovers, I feel like they're starting to take a bit more of a step, trying to become a little bit more elite.
Well, it's interesting you bring this up because I was thinking exactly the same thing, that it feels like for a few years now, Leftovers have been in the xEUCF conversation, not necessarily challenging the upper brackets, but they've consistently qualified. And it feels like now they're building and they are beginning to push their way slowly up the ladder. And it's nice to see that they're building a successful program and they're bringing more players through, as the unmistakable figure of Geisel finds a dump, and they're going to lash it deep, and wow! What are the hand speed there? I think it looks like to me it's Rosa, I think maybe, hang on, just double check, maybe 39 I think in the end, which is Marlon Keinsmeyer with the goal.
And Keinsmeyer looking a bit like a bull taunter there, a matador in her own rights, whipping that disc away. Wonderfully done. Something that when you're talking about Leftovers, their consistency is so admirable. Because in a lot of instances, it seems like you can be one of two things. You can be elite for a while and then disappear. And that tends to happen with a certain generation of players, attract a bunch of other stronger players. Or you can be consistent. Maybe you have the odd peak, but it's mostly about building a club that sustains. And there's rarely clubs that are consistently elite without damaging their own interior communities. So anomalies to this you would have, such as Cusp, which is always trying to build out. But you have those magnetic teams that just suck all the players naturally, generally towards a capital or something like that. and it can be kind of damaging to the team around him. And I think it's much harder. It's not that hard, as difficult as it is, to attract a bunch of elite players for 3 years and try to make a push for a championship. It's much harder to have a team that will have entirely new roster more than once, but keeps wearing the same jerseys. That's very, very rare, and it's the kind of thing the leftovers and Catchup Graz, in respect to them, have pulled off.
It's interesting because I feel like sometimes Catchup, they flip between the open and the mixed divisions a little bit. I mean, I remember playing against Catchup as a junior in Paganello 10 years ago or so. There was a man then who was literally twice my size, who I believe is probably Michael Geisel. But like, and again, those are players who have come through the club. You know, they've maybe been elsewhere, and now they've come back to play with their hometown team. That one's going to rise into the centre, gobbled up by the Catchup defence. They're trying to get on the move quickly. Low finds an option, just a little bit of a step to take the defender deep, but it doesn't quite open up enough for the under. This one, Wattisum, some take, under pressure there by Mesner. Down the far sideline. Wow, tight pressure, and it just nestled in the left hand of the Catchup receiver. And that'll be a break. The game's first, and Catchup take a 3-2 lead. Well, maybe that hope of the pre-quarters isn't over.
Maybe not, but they will need to rack up a few more scores before we can start talking like that. Almost going back in time to get a couple of the grabs there, like thrown a bit late, a little bit behind the receiver, but some really great work from the catchers to make sure they could snag them and keep pushing it. That was lightning quick from the turnover in the end zone, driving it forward, and to be honest, the throws weren't quite as tight as they'd want to be. If I was leftovers, I wouldn't feel too bad about Catchup getting away with that. If I was Catchup, I want to try and build a bit more solidity in there. I get that you're excited after you get that turn, and it's great to get a quick one in, but you have to admit you got away with that rather than achieving it. And if you want to build a sustainable lead, you're going to have to get away with a couple of things, but you're going to have to really play at consistently high level. We've seen snatches of it, but we need to see them really grasp their potential now.
So the floodlight's really beginning to beam down, and I think it's getting a little bit brighter regardless, actually. I feel like there is a sunset in the distance that's turning these
Hold on.
A lovely
There's a
burnt
sun
orange.
in Belgium?
Apparently so.
I've never seen it.
I think we brought it in hold luggage from Italy.
Ah, nice. From Sardinia.
Yeah, Sardinia.
Wait, were you in Sardinia?
Oh, yeah, for the World Great Grandmaster Speech Ultimate Club Championships.
Wow, it must be a really great organization that's able to get kind of coverage that ranges from World Great Grandmasters, the rest of that acronym, to the EUCF.
Ah, well, we will the extended EUCF at that, and we will tell you more about that as this game continues. For now, we are back in play with leftovers trying to bring the scores level again. Nice little reset pattern there at the front of the stack. Gets the disc in a handler's hands. Looking for a cutter underneath. Batushek will try and find his way up line. We know he's got a full array of throws in his arsenal. Pointing, trying to direct traffic downfield. But on a stall count rising and no options, what can he do? Find a receiver at the back of the end zone. That's what Batushek can do, and it is indeed 3 apiece.
Nice, comfortable score from the leftovers. Some good breaks in there. The main thing being no turns, which is the kind of response you want as Catchup. We're starting to get more comfortable, it certainly seemed. Leftovers responding in kind. We could be in for a good old-fashioned battle here, Benji.
Honestly, I'd love it. Like, when you say good old-fashioned, the things like good old-fashioned ding-dong. Like, you know what I mean?
Isn't that like a bar or something? Like a sweet
No. To be fair, it could be. No, it's like when you say, it literally is like a fight where, you know, like someone swings, people swing punches back and forth, and it's like, you know, but someone says it looks like his bell's been rung. Like I think that is the extension of the metaphor. Yes. But
let's be honest, we enjoy extending metaphors until they're worn down.
Pick your other adjective of choice. A real rip snorter, a barn burner, a slobber knocker. Slobber knocker would be one that fits the analogy best.
Slobber knocker is fantastic. I would be scared about saying things like rip snorter because I get in trouble for the language I use sometimes.
We will. Do you? Really?
Well, no, not real trouble, because like, who's actually going to scold me? But people look at me funny.
And also, I think that we're sensible enough to know not to dig ourselves into any holes that are too deep.
Yeah, you can always dig up.
I don't know about that one. I was told this week about the rule of holes, which is if you are in a hole, stop digging, which I feel is very good advice, but advice that at some point I'm surely will try and fail to follow. Meissner Finds a cutter coming underneath into the space. It's Keneally. Again, there's a lot of pressure on these passes, but so far they're going to hand comfortably enough. Going to try and float that one down the sideline. The defender saw it late, and it's a good job that they did, because it allowed the Graz receiver to sneak in there and make the catch before they went out of the sideline. And so that will put them back in front here, trading up at the moment, that one break to the good at 4-3.
Again, flawless offense. Really impressive stuff from Graz, working the open side over and over again. What I would say to you about someone, like, if you're in a hole, stop digging, is clearly a phrase invented by someone who's never been buried alive. Like, what if Lazarus took that advice?
I mean,
we wouldn't have the best part of the Bible. The second best part of the Bible.
What's the best part?
Leviticus.
Which bit about Leviticus?
No, Leviticus is terrible.
As I think you probably have realised, I am talking, you are very much talking to
a man who is passionate about Ultimate Frisbee and little else, just like everybody else here.
Well, I wouldn't say
ULTI.TV. We have no lives outside of Ultimate. We have basically no friends. We come here and get to hang out with each other, and that makes us happy, but not as happy as delivering top quality content, such as Catchup Graz taking on Leftovers in a battle for supremacy at the bottom of the pool at the end of the Friday.
Hashtag content. Tell you what, you would make a lovely hype man, like someone's Flavor Flav somewhere.
Honestly, it's my dream. I've done it twice in my life. It's the most fun I've ever had.
Thought it might be get you like a big clock to wear around your neck. I'd love it.
I love Flavor Flav.
Who doesn't? Nerds, that's
Chucky
it. Yeah, all right, fair cop. Yeah, I'll give you that one. Brandstetter looking downfield. Oh, this one's thrown a bit behind and it's tipped, but it is macked on, and very good catch to make the second effort, because you got to catch your Ds, and he very nearly found out why. Geisel looks deep and he doesn't see anything he likes. So instead he goes and isolates an underneath option, turns, activates Geisel, gets the disc off and now takes off downfield. Geisel puts one up, receiver sees it late, it is tipped, that's still alive, but it just tails away, thankfully, because we nearly had another catch your D situation there, Lorcan. Here's the thing about, we've said catch your Ds enough over the years.
I don't think we have, because people won't catch their Ds.
Well, I think it's because people think we're joking, because we laugh about it afterwards and we do it very over the top. But there's a reason we are serious. Honestly, the number of times we've seen people get in trouble, like finals and stuff, and not catching their Ds, and people look at us and they're like, isn't it? No, we are serious. How do we ever expect to make the Olympics if people don't catch their Ds, honestly?
Big time layout D, incredibly impressive stuff, as Catchup are showing they need to keep it close. Jonas Barth.
It is just about with a little bit of air bounce, gets underneath the mark. Geisel didn't need to catch it that time as they converted off the short field for the goal, and it's another break to Catchup. And it feels like they knew that they needed to come out with a big performance in this game, because they are delivering that early here, Lorcan.
It feels like they're taking off. Now, will they be our supernova tonight? I love the collective team slut drop they just did. That's the kind of energy. Squat. That's the kind of energy that you need to bring.
No shaming here.
No, absolutely. I love sluts. I wish I was one. So, Catchup, it's exactly what you're saying. Catchup Graz 5-3. They will need to keep pushing. It's great to see them put the effort in. It's great to see them rise to the occasion. I think Leftovers have got plenty in them to respond. They've got the nice inside breaks. They've got a couple of handlers they can rely on. This is far from over.
Yeah, it certainly feels like Leftovers still have some energy remaining. Timeout taken here. Good opportunity for the sides to reset their heads. The rain's begun to come down again, kind of glistening through the floodlights. Sunset is kind of setting behind the booth, behind the main tent, behind the tennis club, so you can't quite see it on the camera, which is a shame, because it's casting a lovely kind of rosy glow over the Belgian sky.
Like the frites sauce they throw over their chips.
What, mayonnaise?
It's just mayonnaise and ketchup. I was having this conversation. It's not bad, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's not like it's a real sauce.
But
like
why would you sully mayonnaise with ketchup?
I mean, that's a good question, but it also makes me wonder, surely you wouldn't use mayonnaise in every instance where you'd use ketchup.
No, but I would just never use ketchup. Ketchup is a sauce for people with no imagination.
People who don't use ketchup are definitely sociopaths. It's like one of those things. It's like if you If you look at a baby and they're sad and you don't feel sad and you're like, that person's a sociopath. It's like if you look at a meal and you don't want to add ketchup to it, that person's a sociopath. Like a plate of chips or like chicken nuggets.
With chicken nuggets, I'd use like barbecue sauce or something.
That's a great shout. Barbecue sauce is tasty.
Yeah, but like plate of chips, yeah, mayo, easy.
Egg and sausage sandwich.
Or probably brown sauce with a sausage sandwich.
I go brown sauce for bacon.
Oh, so
tomato ketchup for egg. Tomato ketchup and egg is amazing.
No, it doesn't do it for me, to be honest.
Well, what about ketchup Graz 5-3 up?
I'm not having. I'm sorry, I'm not having that one.
You have to have it because I just gave it to you. Just like I will be giving you ketchup bottles secretly in your luggage for the rest of your life after I've learned you hate it.
Getting stopped to security. What is this?
Oh, that's my blow-up sex doll. No, this bottle. You can't have glass bottles.
Oh, yeah. Also, it's too large. That's really bad. Okay. And the bottle.
Yes.
Yada, yada, yada. That one is sliding out the sliding out of the sideline. Picked up by Mesner. Now Catchup will try and really pile on the pressure and pile on the points. Geisel catching it outside the end zone. Looking, he's got that such a wide pivot with that big wingspan, and he gets it low, but it can't be reeled in, and there might be a foul on the throw. This is one of the things when, as a tall player, you can really use kind of the full pivot, the full length, make that extension as wide as possible, is you get players lunging and get them off balance, and often that does draw contact.
It's a classic thing of drawing contact on a foul to reset the stall count. Some people might consider it slightly a dubious move, but I think it's totally legitimate, mainly because my coach taught me how to do it.
And on the other hand, if you don't like it, don't foul people. There you are.
Great point.
There's my hot take. Geisel with a simple dish into the end zone to Johanna Dor, and it's now 6-3. This is, what, 4 on the bounce for Catchup? No, 3 on the bounce for Catchup Graz, so they broke to take a 3-2 lead. Then they conceded a no point from leftovers, and then 3 on the bounce from that point forward. Well, you said maybe it's too early to start thinking about sneaking your way into the pre-quarters. At what point is it no longer too early?
15-7 and the game's done and you can go home, because at 14-7 they can still deny you by scoring 3 to 4 points. It's not over until it's over, and given that these are a lot of Frisbee stars, it's not you're going to find a fat lady singing. You're going to have to hit 15. So
this is the thing, because it's about the pool, it's about the... I'm assuming that the tiebreaker is head-to-head between those 3 teams. So I'm going to have to. So what this means is I'm going to have to do some digging about the various results, because there's this game plus the game against the Paris Ultimate Club, PUC or PUC. So they beat they lost to Leftovers 15-13. They beat Catchup 15-12. So they're on a goal difference of +1. So actually, if Catchup win this game by a couple of points, they're in with it. They are fully in with a shout.
That's the women's division.
No, it isn't. There's only one PUC team.
In with a shout.
Oh, I see what you did there. Sorry. No, all right, I'll let you have it.
Thank you.
Low towards
I can't believe you wouldn't give me Catchup Graz. Sorry, go on.
Low towards the ground, snagged off the AstroTurf. A little bit of a fumble from the sideline. The signal is inbounds, and credit Rosa Vuti there, because she had her head on a swivel, saw that disc come out of peripheral vision, and was able to stop it and knock it to the turf. And now there's a pick downfield.
I really like that choice of a shot. It seemed like the defender's back was turned. Perfect chance to put up a floaty hawk and have it carry across the pitch for an easy catch. Phenomenal defensive awareness.
Yeah, the execution wasn't quite there, as he mentioned. Didn't quite get enough underneath it. And this one is going to really be a test to be reeled in. Oh, the wind pops it up, and it does so brilliantly for Catchup Graz. I think it's Florian Moik who makes the grab. A picture-perfect put. The wind has caused teams some real consternation today, but that time it played right into Catchup's hands, literally.
The angel's kiss is what we call that.
Oh,
when a
that's
disc
a
is
beautiful
going
turn of
down
phrase.
and it's just going down, and it's like you're not getting there in time. And how many times have you seen it? And out of nowhere, just a bop, and it just pops back up, and you're suddenly able to get it. And that's why you have to chase until the last second, because you never know what's going to happen. You want to talk about catching your Ds, catch your Os. It's catch your Ds, chase your Os. It's the same thing when you put up a huck and you see your guy already going deep and their defender's with them. You need to chase that too, because that defender might not catch that D, and if you chase that O, you get to rescue it. Catch your Ds, chase your Os. That Angel's Kiss saved them 7-3, and they might just be reaching paradise.
Bang on the money. Florian Moik had to chase it down, and it was so easy to give it up, especially last game of the day. It's 7:30 local time. It's a bit cold. You're seeing a couple of glasses of Bruges already make their way around the sideline.
Not enough, if you ask me.
Yeah. Hint, hint. Not that we're saying anything. But, yes, you know, late in the game, sometimes it is late in the game, late in the day, it's difficult to retain that focus sometimes. So credit the focus, credit the hustle, and, you know, 1 point away from half-time, Catchup have put in a solid performance, and they nearly upset Örebro earlier today. So
it's been a very tight group. It's been a very tight group. Even the close game they had against Paris Ultimate Team, which I believe ended 15-13.
Yeah, they went down 15-12, but that could easily have gone the other way, with the exception of Putti, who are probably the class of the. Yeah, and then Örebro are a step below, but again they've been pushed at times. You know, they have finished with a 3-1 record and a point difference of -1, which I think shows you how, you know, how how good Putti is, and B, how tight it is below them.
Very true. My own beloved Pelt will be playing Örebro tomorrow in the pre-quarter.
Oh, that'll be a good game.
That'll be a spicy little number.
I think a game that will, I expect, come down to how well Pelt can handle the Angergaard siblings, who are just unreal, Jonathan and Alva.
Well, I do think the pickups of Brianna Healy and Emma Healy could be a big assistance there. There are some athletic young women on that Pelt side who really have been impressing. Hannah Wilson's been doing a great job as well on the defensive end, which is always a huge boon to have in the mixed division. Really athletic, invasive female defenders.
I'm really hoping I get a chance to, even if I'm not calling it, to get a chance to watch Pelt play tomorrow, because they are always good vibes, and saw a little bit today, and they looked sharp.
They were having a good time today. Just like Catchup Graz right now with that beautiful block.
I tell you what, Geisel saw that at the last minute, and it's a good job he's got those long levers, because he just about did enough to get that something going to hand, and that's where you get your body behind the disc, because if you don't get it cleanly, you've got that nice backboard to clutch it towards. Now in the hands of the formidable Geisel with a low release. Doesn't get it right, though. You've got to credit there on the mark. The matchup of the number 17s. Matthias Brandstetter did a phenomenal job there to put pressure on Geisel, but I think there might be a call on the throw here.
The way Geisel walked away from it, I was like, he definitely got fouled. Oh, no, he didn't. Brandstetter's just influencing, but no, it did certainly look like a bit of a push down on the arm as he was trying to release it.
And indeed, the foul is uncontested after that little bit of discussion. So Geisel, who looks like he's been warmer, I will say that. He's going to float one towards the far sideline. Right? Now Burdenstein's going to try and put one deep down the sideline, but she didn't get that one right, unfortunately, for Catchup. So leftovers will have a chance to score their first point in 5, it would be.
First point in 5, second turnover in 5 possessions by Catchup Graz, so not exactly doing badly.
Yeah, they have found some ruthless efficiency, the Austrians. This is going to be swung into the centre. Again, this Brandstetter versus Geisel matchup is an exciting one to watch, but there's hot matchups all over the field. Saurova looking downfield into the hands of Batushek. Hammer over the top, and he knew when he released it that he didn't get the loft underneath it to give, I mean, it might have been completed, but he didn't even really give the receiver a chance to make a play on it.
It's a tough one because it was the right call, but too much spin, and I think that's just a classic adrenaline shot. As Geis centers it to the middle, and Catchup Graz will look to clean up their offense, hit some unders maybe, but not in time. Brilliant defensive pressure, rushing through and getting the block, Andrei Batushek.
The receiver, I believe it is Kaufman, he just held up, and that opened the window. It's tipped, and it's macked on, and just about hits the floor. Got it, well, I mean, that was... Whoever came out on top of that, they would have felt like they got away with it a little bit. As Geisel winds up and uncorks the big put deep, it's swirling underneath it. Batushek might have got a fingertip on it, but in the end, harmlessly to the far turf.
It was at least great body positioning by Batushek to get down there and just make sure the receiver didn't have as good a shot.
Because Geisel tried to put a lot of air under the shot, maybe he's leaning back a little bit so that the receiver has a chance to chase it down. What that also does is it allowed 3 leftovers defenders to close on it. And I love that hustle. You know, do as good a job as possible of surrounding the offensive player, so they've got no real shot at getting a chance to kind of run up and attack it at the highest point. Leftovers trying to get their offense back in motion, but it's struggling on a high stall, bladed into the middle of the pitch. I think that's fielded on the hop and he knows it. Geisel wants to get it going quickly, and he gets a little bit of a bump. Slaps
I
with
don't
his
see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
I mean, I have numerous reasons why.
Fair.
Like, my mind is telling me no. And I'm not doing it. And so is my body. Oh, look at that high release flick, utilizing the high release point that you can get with that 6.5 foot frame. And now Geisel with a little bit of craft for the inside flick to take half, ends in the hands of Felix Mesner. What a half from Catchup Graz. 8-3.
Exactly what they needed, exactly when they needed it. Geisel is peaking and taking over this game. He's saying, we have this one last shot, one opportunity to capture it or let it slip. So what is he doing? He is seizing it with both hands and making sure he leaves nothing left over for his opponents to capitalize on.
Well, it's interesting, you know, talking about
Mom spaghetti.
Bringing players through from the youth level, like we see both sides do. I'm looking at this catch-up side, and I'm seeing players that I've commentated on it, kind of, whether that be first game over did under-23s in 2013. Geisel was part of that side. Dragashnik was part of that side. You know, doing the EYUC tournaments in recent years. Players like Rosa Vuti, like Lena Ottner, like Laurie Youngvert, I remember I don't know if that was at youth, but like, you can tell that there is a pathway through from the youth levels, and it's nice to see that the talent, kind of the good young talent, doesn't necessarily all cluster on the same one or two teams, and it kind of gets spread out a bit, the country a bit more.
Which is fantastic to see, especially when you're talking about Austria, because you know out of Vienna they have that large collective, it's comparable to Bologna. Multiple clubs come out of it, but they all train together, work together. But then you see the not as prominent cities also have incredibly healthy clubs, like the Big Easy, Catchup Graz. It's a fantastic statement on the vitality and the vibrancy of the Australian ultimate community.
Austrian ultimate community.
Austrian.
And while we...
you would get so mad at me for that.
It happens to the best of us. So
and also to me.
Well, I was talking about you, obviously. While the players take a break for half-time, we're going to do the same, and we'll be back with you in 30 seconds or so, after we've got a little bit to tell you about more of what we do here at ULTI.TV.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Yeah. Hello. Seems to be working fine.
We are all good to go here for the second half at xEUCF 2021 in this final mixed pool play game between Catchup from Graz in Austria and Leftovers from Brno in Moravia in the east of the Czech Republic. Half-time, 8-3 Catchup lead, and to make matters worse perhaps, for the Czechs. Catchup start on offense in this second period. This was 3-3 at one point and then 5 on the bounce, as that is going to get a tip. So maybe Leftovers have made a half-time adjustment that they needed to bring themselves back into this game. It is a slightly bombastic Benji Rees alongside a loquacious Lorcan Murray here in the booth.
And maybe the Leftovers do have something remaining in the tank.
Ultimate under the floodlights. You can't shake it, and you can't shake that either. Well, if Leftovers are going to make a comeback, sometimes you need that big energizing play. Ladies and gentlemen, and other non-binary friends, I think you may have found it.
We always want to be as welcome and as inclusive as possible. I know I have a bit of a vocal tick to say ladies and gentlemen. I should.
It's easy. It's easy, isn't it?
It's the standard. And obviously, with ULTI.TV, we're trying to set a new standard. All-inclusive, all-welcoming, and all-encompassing of European and even further afield ultimate communities that don't get the coverage that they deserve. If you'd like to be a part of this, there's so many different ways you can do it. If you happen to find yourself in a place where you can give money, please join us on our Patreon and fund anything from €3 up. It goes a long way to helping spread the sport. If you don't have the money, that's absolutely fine. You're watching our video right now. Why not share it with some other people who might be interested?
Yeah, that you can do the
subscribe,
ring the bell, the YouTube Holy Trinity, which I appreciate might be slightly sacrilegious, but that's why I'm saying it and not you. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a filthy heathen and I'm okay with it. But yes, even if it's a couple of dollars a month, if everyone who's watching and enjoyed the streams is able
dollary dues.
Yes, exactly.
How many dollary dues, Benji?
A couple a month, or all the way up to being an ultimate producer like Patrick from Madx or Stephen Cameron at Cameron & Co. Architecture. It goes a long way. We can cover as ultimate from here, from here to Australia. Gotcha. we have a little bit of fun in the booth, as you can clearly tell, and why not? Floodlit Ultimate, lovely evening. The party's going in the background. You can see that there are glasses of Bruges, the local delicacy, doing the rounds.
And it is so tasty.
Where would you rather be on a day like this?
Nowhere I've been before, so I couldn't tell you anything better than this.
ULTI.TV have been fortunate enough to be in Sardinia for the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships.
It's so impressive that you can knock that out every time.
I got used to it. And coming from that to this, obviously it's a very different experience. And it's so nice that, we're able to bring you a tournament like this, which now is kind of expected to be covered. Straight from a tournament like that had so many wonderful games and players and plays that may not have otherwise got the time of day. And we're delighted that we can bring you kind of that whole spectrum of Ultimate here at ULTI.TV for free, live and on demand for all eternity on our YouTube channel.
Forever, forever, ever?
Forever, ever.
Never seemed too long until you grown.
That is a delicious inside flick, but it popped up a little bit. And right there to bring it in was a catch-up receiver. Credit the read, although it was not the prettiest of executions in the end. It looked good and then it rose, but on the high stool, everything looking stagnant in the end zone. Just try and leather it in there and see if you can maybe get a ricochet or two. In the end, not quite. So Leftovers trying to start this second half hot. Another sensational snag there from Szczepanik. It's difficult trying to do that sh sound that only exists once in the English language. I'll tell you why later. This one is lashed deep by Leftovers. All over it. Oh, I thought maybe it was going to open the door, but got enough of a palm on it to knock it to the turf, and Catchup will pick it up. Yeah, the sh kind of sound that you get quite frequently in Eastern European languages only exists naturally once in the English language in the word pushchair.
I was going to guess in the word when you load a shotgun, but fair enough.
Yeah, actually, that's not bad, to be fair. Underneath, Catchup getting their offense back underway, trying to score their first point in the second half. But that's a really smart poach, and it's thrown straight into the palms of Gladish. But unfortunately, they can't do anything with it. Now the defense isn't necessarily set, but Catchup don't find receivers free downfield. Now they're making a little bit of headway, trying to get things moving. It's really kind of chugging along at the moment for Catchup. The fluency and the fluidity is in there. That's a nice break to get things towards the middle of the pitch. Mesner, who's had a fantastic game so far for Catchup. Inside flick is sailing out of the sideline. That time couldn't connect with the intended target, which was Sandra Keneally.
So a little bit messy there, if we're honest with ourselves, Benji. A couple of quick turnovers, adrenaline taking over. I like this small break that Leftovers are taking as slowly making his way towards the disc. One of their main handlers, Jakub Jurasek.
He's going to bring it in from the sideline. Player's just going to take a breath. First dump set slightly downfield, perhaps to not lose so many yards, but in the end they go pretty much straight backwards into the hands of Gladish. Wearing that bandana around his neck, into the middle, into traffic. Got the block, and there was a lot of contact slightly late there from Stupkova.
Powerful bid, and I like that timeout call. Things were getting too wavy, too unraveled. Smart and experienced timeout call coming out of Catchup Graz.
Well, whatever happened at half-time, it seems to have just taken all of the air out of Catchup Graz, and all of a sudden, it's become a real grind for them, whereas in the first half, it looked easy.
Well, if we were to look at how fluidly they scored, they had 2 flawless offensive holds. They even got 2 straight breaks without turning it over. The last point they played just before securing half, 3
that was a
turnovers,
bit ugly,
4 turnovers. It was quite ugly. But they were able to get the break to do it. Right now, we are up to, well, in response, Leftovers, because Catchup Graz came out on offense and Leftovers just got the D, scored right back into it, starting to put some pressure back on and turn it into the dogfight that Leftovers needed to be, whereas Catchup Graz looked like they were sailing smoothly into a pre-quarter position. We are now looking at, I believe, at least 3 turnovers each at this point. Yeah, 3 turnovers each at this point.
Well, you mentioned, how the efficiency in the first half. There were 6 turnovers in total from Catchup in the first half, 3 of which were in that final point. And in the second half, come out on 0, turn it over. Leftovers put it in easily. 3 more now. And so you look at that last, after looking 3 points from your first, 3 turns from your first 10 points. Admittedly, you didn't necessarily have the disc in all of those. All of a sudden, from the last 3, or 2.5 points, because this is still in progress, 7 turnovers. And it's really descended quickly here for Catchup.
Things quickly getting out of hand, which is, again, why I love that timeout call. There's a lot of debate over when to call a timeout. 7 turnovers deep into a point you really need to put away. To me, that's the time to call a timeout.
I think they can be excused. All they're trying to do now is to avoid the curse of the turnout. It's really difficult to get the disc moving off these static situations.
I do think in turn-heavy points, the disc's value drops like sterling after a Brexit. So it's important to maybe take a little bit of a break and try to remind everyone that possession is key.
Well, it looked like there was a clear play off the timeout. It was to huck it deep. And you could see why, because the cut originally came from Breitenthaler, and then he just pulled out of it. So obviously some sort of miscommunication, the curse of the turnout strikes. And often, you're bringing the disc in off a standard turnover. Players are moving -1, -2 before the disc is checked in. But obviously that's a violation of a timeout. So it takes a couple of seconds just to create the spacing that you usually like. That's why I find it tends to be a bit easy to move off kind of slightly more spacious play rather than a nice tight vertical set, where it naturally takes a couple of seconds to try and work those players free.
I honestly think coming out of a timeout, have everyone run in a random direction and try to get a dump off. But that's just my personal approach, because you need to start the flow going.
So what you're saying is play Hex?
No, I will never say that. Hex is an attempt to codify total ultimate.
Now you're getting it. That one muscling out. You can see them jockeying for position. Good line taken towards the disc by Franciszek Szczepanik. And maybe a little bit, I think it's, injury call. So you may recognize that symbol. Injury used to be the 2 hands on the head. Now it's the symbol that you used to use for 4 women during a mixed point, the arms interlocked above the head.
I actually had to get a quick breakdown course on the new hand signals and what they all mean. To my delight, contest remains the same, because it's clearly the best.
My favorite one is uncontested. It's like, what's up with that? I mean, also, game point is the best, because it's basically just the dab.
I didn't know game point. That was out of my crash course.
Or the Thomas Eriksson, if you're an ultimate historian. We'll leave it there.
An ultimate historian of certain persuasions, maybe.
As I said, I'm leaving it there.
And something that Catchup Graz is trying to do is leave the Leftovers in their dust as they try to capitalize on this lead they built in the first half, continue to pressure them, and carry themselves through to the pre-quarters.
It feels like all of a sudden the potential magnitude of the results of this contest has hit both sides, because it's descended into a little bit of a grind fest And just a simple drop on an underneath cut. I think Bartuszek was guilty of looking at the next pass. Popped to Geisel, but there's going to be perhaps a travel on the throw.
And an immediate timeout.
Another timeout called.
So is that both of their second half timeouts used in the same point?
It is indeed.
And that point is the first point of the second half?
Second point of the second half.
Correct. Yes, they got the turnover and the immediate score.
You think this point means a lot in the context of the game?
I don't think it's pointless.
I mean, I'd be surprised if it was.
Depends how many more turnovers they're going to have. We might have to leave if it gets too dark.
I mean,
our cameras can only capture so much, and at some point they will need us to vacate the premises.
Well, theoretically, there is no time cap. I feel like Mother Nature probably has a natural time cap.
For all of us, really.
Nah, mate. Just let the Bruges Zot flow and you'll find a second wind.
Very, very true. We are having a fantastic time. It is such a testament to the Ultimate community in Bruges and in Belgium at large. Phenomenal organization so far.
I mean,
we don't have time to thank absolutely everyone,
No.
but it's Tom's Tourney done at an even higher level. Because Tom's Tourney has an element of manicness to it. And this is almost like Tom's Tourney has left their early 20s, gone out of college, and is actually now pursuing a career. Because this has just been professional from start to finish, but they still know how to have fun once everything's taken care of.
I mean, I've only been to Tom's Tourney the once, a whirlwind weekend back in 2017 on basically no notice. And just the fact that they took this stranger who they'd never met before and kind of only vaguely knew what he was doing, and they looked after me excellently there and told me a lot about the way they were as a tournament, that they took care of people. And there's a reason that Tom's has become such a fixture on the Ultimate calendar, both as like a for the high level quality, and B as a party tournament, because the parties are great and the beer is wonderful, but C, because you can tell there's that extra little bit of care and attention taken. And it's good to see them finally get the chance to host a major tournament like xEUCF, and I think so far they've done a wonderful job, especially when you consider some of the additions today, which were atrocious.
Very challenging, to say the least.
And so far, everything seems to be going pretty much according to plan, and that is something to be savoured. Hosting basically the first major European tournament out of a pandemic. Phenomenal job by the crew here in Bruges, and we extend our thanks to them. Off the timeout, they've got Geisel at the front of the end zone. They're going to bracket him, which is not necessarily a surprise. The question now is, can they find the poached player? Well, there's one of them. It's the reset, fumbled, but just about clutches it in the knees, and then Geisel comes out of the end zone. Look at him try and move the mark around. Oh, he got that throw out late, and I thought it wasn't going to get there. And now squeezed down the sideline. A timeout works wonders, or at least the second one does. It's Keneally making the catch on the far sideline. First one of the half for Catchup. That was a grind and a half. 10 turns in that point, but it's Catchup who emerge on top.
And deservedly so, because they did. 2 timeouts called, try and take the tackle advantage. The first one was a classic turnout miscommunication, which is just so frustrating for them to find the defensive intensity and effort to keep pushing after that point, because you can see heads drop. And in these kinds of contests, if you let in that first grain of doubt, it can quite quickly grow into a huge problem for you. So that's why it's fantastic to see Catchup Graz overcoming it, getting that crucial score, 9-4. They don't want to let leftovers back into this game, because in doing so, they'll let leftovers back into this tournament. And Catchup fighting for their place in the pre-quarters right now, and it has to be said, they're fighting well.
You're bang on. You cannot let that seed of worry just germinate and grow and blossom, and then before you know it, you're looking at this field of sunflowers, and they've just got well, I lost it. Not sunflowers, like rainflower. Sod it.
Bluebells.
I don't know.
I always thought bluebells were very sad flowers.
Yeah, they're a little bit droopy. Okay, fine. The point remains as that is just a miscommunication and misthrow. Maybe they're just a little bit slick. Regardless, I'm not sure Catchup will care. Trying desperately to get a reset off on a high stall. That's some high stall bailout throw. A salacious little scuba there. Love to get the sibilance in with an adjective of choice for the scuba. Shows the hammer, and especially after you've seen a scuba, you've got to prepare for it. This one is a lot underneath it, and it allowed the defenders to close in. He's still on his knees, and I think he's going to call the foul there under the contact from Matthias Brandstetter.
Well, we've seen Catchup Graz hang these outside-in flicks from about the middle of the pitch, even a little bit closer to the opposite sideline, into the corners. It's worked quite well for them earlier, but Leftovers are getting wise. They're starting to recognize that downfield and getting prepared for those kinds of shots to come out of the hands of Christoph Schitter. So excellent awareness on the defensive end. We'll see how the resolution of the call goes, but they're starting to work out where to be and putting their bodies there, much to the chagrin of this catch-up team.
So they're just going to have a little bit more discussion going on. There's a Leftovers player on the sideline. He's trying to offer a little bit of perspective, or maybe a little bit of translation. Uncontested foul is the result. So it will be Catchup's disc on the line of the end zone. The front line, that is, I should say. Be weird if it was the back line. It is Sebastian Bauer, the player who was fouled. So he checks it in, walks it to the front. We're trying to make sure they walk to exactly the same place. The mark was there waiting. And rather than be aggressive and break it, he's going to go around it into the center of the pitch, really access both sides of the field to work with. Swings again, and you could see just kind of altered its path at the last second, and it bounces in and out of the hands of Melanie Bodenstein. And now Leftovers winding up, uncorking a beautiful deep put, caught in stride by the receiver. It's Železna on the outskirts of the end zone, forcing it in with a little inside flick. Graz will feel that one got away from them, but Leftovers will not care one iota as Batushek makes the catch to make the score 9-5.
Fantastic hop. Goes across all 3/3 of the pitch, huge, arcing. And when it comes to hitting cutters in stride, it's not about the precision of the huck. It's about how much time you give the cutter to read it. If you give a cutter enough time to follow the flight of a disc and the throw is consistent enough for it to be trackable, it will always hit them in stride. Brilliant work from Leftovers, showing they've got plenty in the tank remaining, and they're going to try and push this Catchup Graz team.
And they need to.
They need to. If Leftovers win, they're through to the pre-quarters. Catchup Graz win by, I believe, even just as many as 2.
It is a win and in scenario, as you mentioned, for Leftovers. If they go down by 1, I think that might put PUC through. The pool is so tight at the bottom, and we've seen Graz kind of flirt with this in other games. But if they can put it all together here, you know, it maybe sends a message that their pre-quarter, you know, whoever their pre-quarter matchup is against, might not be as easy as first thought.
Well, it remains to be seen and plenty left to play for.
They've certainly got the potential. Can they unlock it? Underneath, unbelievable D! Holy smokes! That is unreal. Talk about putting your body on the line. Franciszek Szczepanik, unreal, fully horizontal. Put a poster of that on my wall. Jesus. And now punching it on the first pass. No, not quite. Loud cheer from the sideline and from some of the players as well. They thought it was in. I'm pretty sure that the receiver, Nela Halupova, knew that it wasn't. Talking about it on the sideline, there's a Leftovers teammate who I think was calling it not in. Very important to say that it's not in rather than out, which is a distinction that you would be surprised how often it comes into play. So Halupova.
It's actually the same situation in the homosexual community.
There is a difference, you're right. Reset. Gladish looking towards the end zone for the break. Well, Leftovers, they still have plenty in the tank.
Remaining.
Yes.
This is a fantastic second half for them. 4-1 run, flawless defensive break, a huge long point that Catchup Graz were lucky to get out of. 1 turnover on the offensive hold, and then another faultless defensive break. Catchup Graz are going to give you chances to beat them. This is why they struggle to make it deeper into competition.
This is why they are, with all due respect to them, this is why they are where they are, because if they had that consistency, they could have beaten Puck, they could have beaten Örebro. You know, they had their chances, and maybe if they could kept their foot on the gas, it was there for them.
So will they be able to do it this time? Personally, I think yes. I think they've shown a grit and a determination, and they just simply don't want to face this many losses in the first 2 days of the tournament. I back them to get it under control. But then, when you see Leo blocks like that, I mean, who's going to be able to stop that?
I mean, the longer leftovers hang around, you know, maybe the more it plays in the catch-up minds. But as you mentioned, you know, you can play as good as you want, and then sometimes somebody is just going to, you know, put their hand in your face and stiff arm you out of the bracket, as Szczepanik tried to do there, and they're looking deep, and in a way it's almost a surprise they haven't looked deep to Geisel a bit more often. Seems to be a pretty good bailout option, and whoa, almost butterfingers, and in the end, Dragashnik, those two, of course, teammates all the way back at junior level, just about had that connection there. Almost a one-pass hold, not quite. Couple of passes. Clean, though, in the end for catch-up. Reopening a 4-point lead at 10-6. Boy, they needed that, Lorcan.
You made a great point, which is, you think they'd probably think about sending Geisel deep a little bit more often when he's got ups like that, and then, of course, the connection for the finishing score. The problem Catchup going to have is, are they leaning on Geisel too much?
That is the question, is that you want to make sure that you're getting contributions from up and down your roster. And they've, you know, they have phenomenal players up and down the roster. And then maybe sometimes it's a question of confidence, because let's go back to the previous point, the layout from Szczepanik. Like, we've called his name a couple of times, but by no means was everything coming through him. But he saw a play to be made, and he put his name out there in, you know, shining, glittering headlines. I mean, like, you know, full, you know, West End, Broadway, now starring František Szczepanik. Like,
hey,
you
I'd
know,
go see that show if he keeps putting on performances like the one he's having.
I mean, who wouldn't? And at the moment, sometimes it feels, in the big, like in the tight moments, you do you lean on your big players, and yes, they will have to come through, but they can't do it all by themselves. Like, you cannot throw and catch your own disc unless something very weird has happened in the intermediary. Here's leftovers, and you can tell there's a bit of a buzz in the tent behind us as people getting some food and drink on board, and that adds a little bit to the atmosphere as well. Honestly, this is a game that I think deserves more of a crowd on the sidelines than it is getting. I know this is easy for me to say as someone who's streaming it, but I genuinely believe that, as that one is knocked away, trying to strike quickly. Oh, that one gets a hand in there, and I think maybe, no, good spirit, because decided that actually not really enough contact. He got there first. Turnover stands and leftovers looking to strike and maybe catch the defense napping. It is made by Brandstetter. What? He did not come up with that. I'm sorry. That is ridiculous from Gladish. He had absolutely no right to it. Now a little bit of a bunk from Gladish going towards the end zone. Catches it in stride. This is getting a little bit ridiculous, Lorcan, in the most lovely way. I'm sorry. There's no way Gladish caught that. There's no way.
No, clearly he didn't catch it, and what we actually witnessed is a very rare scientific phenomenon.
It's a glitch in the Matrix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, don't worry about it. Everybody keep taking the blue pill, and we won't have to think about it too much. You know who really don't want to have to think about that too much? Leftovers. Because when you're putting that kind of defense on, I mean, it's working out
like,
for you.
Hey, you know, people say keep Ultimate weird. I think generally they talk about the culture. Hey, sometimes you need to throw some stuff up that's unorthodox, and you need someone to make a quietly, I mean, I think, we say unbelievable or not, that was almost a genuinely unbelievable catch. Like, when he caught it, I genuinely did not believe that he had somehow contorted his body and had the speed of hands and the reaction time to come up with it. And then, yeah, sometimes you've got to play out, you know, there is an art to playing, you know, textbook conservative dump and swing offense, and there are some times when you've got to ride the hot hands, let players make a highlight reel for themselves.
That's how superstars are born. They don't happen in vacuums. They happen under pressure. And there's pressure all over this pitch right now.
What's that horrible phrase? Pressure makes diamonds? Well, I mean, certainly something was glittering under the floodlights here, and I don't think it was the AstroTurf. Very expressive, purposeful faking, trying to get that mark, shuffling around and off balance. Big cut comes from the far sideline, horizontally across the field. motioning players, trying to create a little bit of space. Here is that, as we mentioned, the conservative dump swing, but the throw off target, defense closed quickly. Leftovers will have the disc with a chance to close the gap to just 2 at 10-8. Oh my word. This game is just going to keep delivering, Lorcan. You know it is.
But which way will it fall? Leftovers still have a lot of work to do. Punching it in here will go a long way, as there's plenty of turnovers left to come, just like there's plenty of action.
And they're moving it quickly, but they're beginning to stop a little bit here. Now they've got into the red zone with the spaces tight and congested. You're going to have to stick some tight window throws, leading a receiver to the break side. Superb sliding snag from Leftovers to seal the break, 2 points behind. Oh my word! The fact is, the result, even with the, like just in a vacuum, this game is so tight and so exciting. When you consider that, depending on how this plans out, you know, one of these teams is going to make it into the pre-quarters, and the other one is going to have their bracket hopes dashed. It's just, oh my! Honestly, I'm like a kid at Christmas or whatever your religious holiday of choice is. Like, I am buzzing, Lorcan. I am absolutely buzzing.
He's like a bee, ladies and gentlemen, in my bonnet. Well, this game's going to be staying in my head for a long time, too. It has been a fantastic showing. 8-3 at half, now 10-8. Two teams battling for survival, battling for respect, and just throwing on some real highlight plays. I think you hit the nail on the head. You're like, there deserves to be more people watching it. This is actually why we do what we do here at ULTI.TV.
Yes.
Is put these kind of games up there.
100%.
xEUCF. I know it technically stands for Extended EUCF. I think right now it stands for Extra EUCF because it's been 2 years and everybody's given that little bit extra. Layout grabs, layout blocks, big-ass skies, impossible grabs. I'm still not sure actually happened. They're getting it all, and this is in effectively a bottom-of-the-pool playoff game in the mixed division.
Right? I mean, you know how like the people say like that person, they're just a bit extra, you know, like there's always a little bit of drama with them. That doesn't do this justice. There is a lot of drama.
There's a lot of drama
here. Oh, I love it, Lorcan. I love it. Well, that will take some of the wind out of my sails slightly. A pick that will just bring a temporary calm.
Okay, well, maybe we could try and just catch our breaths momentarily.
Hey, there's got to be a little bit of rise and fall, perhaps, you know, like in a mixtape. You can't be like bangers all the time.
No, you go bangers all the time. What are you talking about?
No, I agree, yeah.
Banger, banger, banger.
I like, honestly, just loz it. Give the fans something to watch at home. Try to manipulate the mark. High stall. Well, there's the deep put. Defenders have position, and there is no possible play to be made. Breitenthaler was the closest receiver there for Catchup, but it is a turn. Leftovers now can close to within 1.
And Leftovers have shown a clinicism.
I'd have gone clinicity.
You know Latin better than I do. But I prefer clinicism. I prefer saying it.
They both seem like perfectly cromulent words to me.
Well, then, that's good enough for me. Leftovers have really turned up the heat in this second half. And they're cooking.
And at the moment, they're being forced to go backwards by their Austrian opponents. Can they maintain their patience and their discipline to work it until they find the opportunities downfield? Or will they just seize what is almost not there to be taken? They're going to lash one deep, and that is asking even too much from this game to be reeled in. Honestly, I would have flipped the table if somehow we'd caught that. I would have picked you up and suplexed you through it.
I would have been okay with that. I mean, at some point, you've just got to start.
No, there is no way I could do that. No way. Maybe like I'll splash you through it or something. Who knows? Oh, it's tipped. And at the second attempt, smothered to the floor. 1-on-1. Surely you've got to pick it up quickly. No, he's going to take his time. At that point, 1-on-1 in the end zone, or 2-and-2 for a little bit of give-go. I'd have picked it up, certainly, but this is why they're playing at this level and I'm not. That they know sometimes that you've got to wait for your opportunity. Macked, back in play. Oh, almost ended up with a miraculous style grab because that was tipped so far out of play, tailed back in, and he almost got it at the second attempt. I mean, I don't know if anything would surprise me about Ultimate anymore, but that would not have come far away. Low, another big bid from who else but Gladish. Down the sideline, unable to be reeled in, off the hands of Felgic.
It's getting very intense, Benji.
on it, I am pretty much literally vibrating at this point. And not just because there's a little bit of nip in the air. Just, I am high on the fumes of this game. It's wonderful. It's so good. Trying to get the handler down line, no. Takes the reset, not quite in position to make the bid. Nice snag from a close flick. Gladish, this one's going to pop over the receiver. Kind of a dismissive smack down to the floor by Catchup. See, this is the thing, do you try and ride the wave of emotion, or do you stay calm, stay centered, try and follow what you've practiced? Or a little bit of a fumble, a little bit of a slip, but catch is maintained. Trying to get movement downfield, nice find on the far sideline, making amends. Like that, going back to receiver who could make an earlier snag there in Felgich, and she gets the disc up the line. In the hand of Mesner, lovely throw over the top, opening the bag of tricks a little bit there to Keneally, through the traffic, into the end zone. That is field vision, if ever I saw it.
Really impressive throw. She made 3 leftovers defenders completely irrelevant. And it's such a horrible feeling to watch a disc arc just outside of your reach, slightly past you. It's the exact kind of score Catchup needed to get in there, because leftovers have been dominating this second half, and a second break for them would not have been good. As like we said, it's got to be at least 2 points that Catchup win, as far as we can work out from the contextually rather complicated maths of the pools.
Current score, had the disc to make it, well, had the disc a couple of times to make it 10-9. Instead, the Austrians open up the 3-0 lead at 10-8. About 20 minutes left to go in this game before the time cap comes on. Games this week are played to 15, or alternatively, time cap goes at 90 minutes. You finish the point, add 1 to the highest score. That is your new point cap. So at the moment, I don't know if we're going to reach that 15, but regardless of what the final score ends up being, the pendulum is definitely going to swing back and forth. And Lorcan and I are the little balls in the middle of the Newton's cradle, just kind of being ricocheted between back and forth, passing that kinetic energy between each other.
Without having to move ourselves.
Exactly. This is why commentary's so good.
Right? Because we get to enjoy all of this intensity, but we don't actually have to go out there and run.
And I really hate that.
It's not fun.
It'd be difficult for it to not come across, I think, how much we are enjoying life here at xEUCF. As leftovers looking deep, going to read this bide towards the far sideline. Expertly done. Gladish makes the cap. And another haymaker fired back by leftovers.
So we are an hour and 10 minutes into this game. We will be coming to a close awfully soon. And a flawless offensive hold by leftovers. 2-pass offense, I'm pretty sure, again. They have really grown into this game, especially this second half. They are fighting more and more, closing that gap closer and closer. And I still fancy Graz to be able to take it and force their way into the quarters. But they're going to need to refine some of that form from the first half.
Yeah, it's on a knife edge, isn't it? A real knife edge. And you can use that knife edge to cut the tension in the air with the score at 11-9.
So leftovers, they have a lot of confidence in their shots, and their defense has taken a real step up in intensity. They are starting to bid all over the pitch, and all sorts of players attempt to get their names written in the histories of that club, which is quite a proud history and a long one.
And you do see that happen sometimes. Someone makes a sensational play, and then everyone else looks at it and says, oh, well, if they can't do it, if they can do it, why can't I do it? One begets another sometimes. Underneath, no layout to be made there. Just right on the money with the delivery of the throw. Breaks in toward the middle of the pitch, give themselves more space to attack. Kailani. High release. Thought it might have got stuck in the grip a little bit there, but it does find the target. Dishing off, and now trying to get a little bit of motion. It feels like it's there in fits and starts. They're getting one pass off, but there's no continuation downfield. It's gained a few yards. Reset for a bit. gain a few yards, reset for a bit. The time of the continuation isn't necessarily there. That's a nicely timed breakside cut, though. Late enough to prevent the defender closing in, but then the throw just pops up a little bit. Gobbled up at the back by a poaching defender. And absolutely bombed deep and got most of it hand, just not quite enough round it there from Bartuszek.
He threw himself into the sky to try and pull that down under a lot of defensive pressure from Geisel. Really, really impressive. And that's one of those catches you make it, just like we were talking about. You could change the whole tone and face of this game.
All going to ask a lot of the reset there in the end. Fleet enough of foot to chase it down. No layout needed, although I'm sure were it to do so, Mesner would have put his body on the line. This time he's going to put another on his line a different lay, just unfurling. Oh, goodness! A frozen rope deep, tilling a receiver in stride. I think it's Felgic, who's made an early drop earlier in this half, and since then has come firing back in some form. Beautiful put. I mean, I was said earlier that, you know, you don't tend to see it just like hammered right into the chest. So to put a bit of air under it. Nope, not that time. Pick the target, delivered honestly. A better huck you could not care to see all tournament.
Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Phenomenal shot. And it shows the peaks that you find across the EUCF, even in these bottom pool playoff games. It's not easy to get here. Well, it's pretty easy to get to Bruges. It's not easy to get here on a skill and ultimate level.
And I appreciate that xEUCF, you know, maybe there are more teams than otherwise there would be. But certainly, I think every team that has been here has shown that, hey, there's a reason that we came here. It's not just because we wanted to make up the numbers. We came here because we wanted to test ourselves. No, we wanted to prove that we deserve to be here.
Considering the amount of testing ourselves we had to do in order to be allowed to come here, it shows the dedication these teams have. Everybody's been off for 2 years. Everybody's eager. Everybody's got something to prove.
Although, to be fair, not everyone went through as much testing as we did. Thanks to our political decision makers. Love to see it. This one all fumbled, but good focus to take it at the second attempt. Here's Preusel. Looking downfield, low release. Going to be a layout opportunity. No surprise that Bartuszek went down to his knees, but he's on the end zone line when he makes the snatch. Now trying to find a reset. Do they jam it in the jam hole? No. 1, 2 receivers can't quite come up with it. We'll be back in Catchup's hands. I'll tell you what, if they could break here, they'd feel a lot more comfortable about the rest of this game. But would be their first break of the second half.
Right now, they're really just holding on to the 5-point lead that they built in the first half and hoping that they can finish with at least 2 left in the chamber.
Still count rising. Thought it was going to go deep, and I think the force did just enough to dissuade it. Now the swing goes to Geisel. Feels like I can get it off at most release angles. That time it's a simple underneath. That is as purposeful fate you can get from Dragashnik. Works its way through, but no one is going to get it to hand. Vuti was perhaps the closest to it. But it slides its way through at some speed, and that'll be a turnover. But leftovers will at least have to work the full length of the field from a catch-up perspective.
So leftovers still looking to find a way into this game, and the defensive effort that they are showing, the intensity, the layout bids on the throws to stop that huck like you're talking about, the heads-up awareness of the 2 defenders downfield after that huck went up, trying to knock it down and influence it into the ground. They want this. Don't you be mistaken.
So gives the handler the eyes, get up line, and again it's that low, flat huck, but it allows the defender who has their head up, who has their eyes positioned on the disc. It's like what you want to do as a defender, really. You want to be in the position where, you know, you've got your hips to mirror the receivers, you're covering them, but you've got enough of your field of vision to see where the disc is coming, so you can intercept it and knock it down in the midfield like that. Fumbled, bobbled, stays in hand. I would see you up for a point there looking, and then it came back in so quickly, I didn't let you make it. Apologies. Here's Geisel. Geisel, he wants to go big himself. There's a couple of receivers there, one for the other. He finds Dragashnik. A break for Catchup. That could be enough to see them over the line at 13-9.
It feels like it could be, Benji. And you never need to apologize to me. I love the sound of your voice, and I am always engaged with the insight that generally accompanies that melodic tune.
Generally.
I mean, we all have our moments. 8-4, 13-9. Leftovers fighting all the way. Well, it was 8-3 before the half.
Yeah.
Leftovers got it. So that gap is back up to 4, 2 away from the end. Time, I think there's, 2 minutes left in the game, if not 3?
Yeah, 13, because it's 90 minutes and we started at 7.
Oh, you're correct.
Yes, it's weird because I feel like, 100-minute slots, 80-minute games, because you get enough time in case of potential cap weirdness. But yes, I agree. But still, not long left in this game. And what a time for Catchup to find their first break of this second half. What a time for them to find it. Because, you know, they were in a situation where it was being close to just trading with 2s as the gap, and all of a sudden, put that break in there, you've got a bit of a 4-point margin. It feels like a lot more to overcome 13-9 than 12-10 would have done. And sometimes that mental barrier is like, it accounts for a lot, although obviously we've seen with the reckless, well, not quite reckless, the slightly loose abandon with which players are throwing them around, doesn't really seem to be any mental passport checks in place.
They are certainly having trouble with the border guards of their own confidence. But maybe they go for something a little bit reckless, try to smuggle something past.
Hey, we will see. Fortune favours the bold, I was once told. Leftovers have it in the hands of Chomakova. Reaching out, really fired at pace into the receiver's path. There is a pick in the middle of the field, so it's going to go back into the handler's hands. That is the aforementioned, no, excuse me, that's 42, Anna Valtarova. Oh no, there are 2 42s on the roster. I will double check which one that is. I'm going to say that it's Chermakova for now. Finding a receiver underneath, really holding out that flick, trying to move the mark across. Oh, what a shake and bake, and then Geisel gets in the way for the block. That was such a good up line cut, but Geisel read it all the way and got his body on the line to get the block. Unfortunately, from a catch-up perspective, the Austrians can't do anything with it. And Leftovers, seeing how frenetic this game has become, again, just want to take the sting out of the tail somewhat with the timeout.
It's also worth remembering Catchup have no timeouts left.
That is very true.
Them all in the first point of the first half.
No, you are bang on. That is what they did. You know how sometimes we make fun of the players consistently using timeouts because it's boring.
Yes. Well,
So-
we make fun of everyone for almost everything. We're very insecure.
Yeah. So I assume you're familiar with Sverstuts on KFK.
Wonderfully so.
He took 3 timeouts in their game. In their game we streamed earlier today. 2 of them in the same point.
Just to mess with us, or did they? How are KFK looking, actually? You know what? That's a conversation for later on. Right
Mate,
now,
they
we're looking.
I will tell you just very quickly. They're looking good.
They're looking good.
Yeah,
right?
they're in the
'Cause
quarterfinals.
They absorbed Ragnarok. Like.
Yeah, they're in the
some
quarterfinals.
matchups in the, and that's the Open. We also have the women's, which a lot is to
Honestly.
be decided tomorrow before heading into the semis on Sunday. And in the mixed, look at the intensity and the action of this. What is effectively the lowest standard of the mixed teams playing, and it's this level. That's what we're watching here in EUCF, and we have seen some top quality performances.
In my time commentating the European game, and I hope that you will say it the same, the quality across the divisions, across the tournaments, you're getting games like this from countries that, a few years ago were not necessarily considered ultimate powerhouses. You're seeing that. You're seeing the kind of the rise in ability, the rise in level, the rise in intensity that means...
It is the rise of Europe.
Yes, I could not disagree. I could not disagree with you. I could not disagree with you. I just couldn't disagree with you. I agree with you is an easier way of saying that. I fully agree with you. It's been a long day. Trying to get that low release off, adjusting, trying to lay out behind them. Was Halupova to make the grab.
That's 2 turnouts we've seen in this game. The first throw turnover. It is a legitimate phenomenon that people need to be more aware of.
Anyway, back in play. Here's Ortner, who we know from her time through the youth setups has experience in playing intense championship-style matches. On the far sideline for Catchup, looking to really put Leftovers to the sword. Geisel. Oh, threw that straight in. I mean, sometimes there are blocks where you're full extension. That time, I think he got a little bit greedy, and he threw it straight into Jakub Jurasek.
Well, some blocks are good, some blocks are bad, some blocks are unbelievable blocks.
Some blocks, I mean, that is a block, like putting your body on the line, because I am sure that was thrown with some venom, and that must have hurt. But it is a battle scar he will wear with pride if leftovers are to be able to come back in this game. Fighting an option underneath is Halupova. Taking the reset, just staying patient. Vyhotska. Maybe they're seeing that rather than taking perhaps more enjoyable but slightly unreliable shots, they want to show more consistency. But that time, good recognition from Geisel on the mark because he backpedaled a little bit on the high stall. I think he felt the handler cut developing, and that meant he'd have time to react and use that wingspan to knock the disc to the turf. Well, the AstroTurf.
The all-purpose pitch in Bruges, xEUCF 2021. A lot of turnovers creeping back into this point. Catchup mix looking for a break to make it 14-9 and really put that quarterfinal berth. That fight for quarterfinal berth, I should say. 'Cause it's not like they're getting top 8. It's the opportunity to fight for top 8 that they are scrapping deep into the Friday evening for.
So currently in the game on the other stream field between Germany's Colorado and Guayota from Tenerife in the Canary Islands of Spain. Currently 13-11 to Colorado. We're at 13-9 here. Catchup, the Austrians, up on leftovers from Brno in Moravia, the east of the Czech Republic. And Catchup have the disc in their position now. Wicked low release break all the way out to this sideline. Do they continue on the break side? No. Faking, trying to find a receiver to get free. But it looks a little bit cluttered. Still count rising, and that time, I just feel maybe they got a bit more air under it. They could have had a bit of shot at it. But it was the hammer was a bit low. Defender got the bid and hit the ground hard as well.
It's a tough one when you're late in the game, late in the day, high in the stall count, and everybody is screaming at you because everybody thinks they're just about to get free. It's an unenviable position.
Yes. There have been more enviable positions, I think. I would say ours currently among them. If I were not here, I would be very envious that I was not calling this game.
I think people really don't know how good we have it sometimes. And
well,
I hope they never figure it out.
I also hope sometimes they don't know that it can... We love doing the gig, obviously, but you do work on shoestring budgets at times. You don't necessarily... Not all tournaments are as accommodating as they have been here in xEUCF, where they've done a phenomenal job, as they were in Sardinia for WGD and BUCC. I'm trying to get through that as quickly as possible. There's a lot of discussion here about this call. I see a lot of hand signals being made for turnover. So I'm assuming that's because they all think it's a turnover and not because everyone's got the wrong hand signal. And indeed, the turnover will stand.
Turnover, another hand signal that we never need to change.
Right? I mean, what else would it be? The only other thing is people sometimes using the travel signal for turnover. Takes advantage of the face mark there from Ortner. Got it beyond before she saw the cut developing. Well, not before she saw the cut developing, but before she knew the disc was there to be thrown. Got it the wrong way around. Nice offload into the middle there. And they're trying to continue it towards the far sideline. Again, another player down on the floor here for leftovers. So yeah, sometimes this the 4G pitch can be a bit unforgiving on landing. Getting some sage nodding from Hannah Pendlebury outside our booth.
There's nothing quite like a sage nod from Hannah Pendlebury to make you feel like you might have actually just said something that made sense.
It does happen occasionally.
It's a rare feeling for us.
We just have theoretically nice voices, I think.
I think in practice mine is pretty good.
Yeah, yours is. Mine
I
not.
got that deep, smooth.
Mine not so much. Mine not so much a week into the tournament, although it does improve my Steph Rapazzo abilities. That man, honestly.
We can't do another. This isn't Glastonbury. We can't do a 10-minute
No, there was a thing
rip on Stefan Rapazzo.
I nearly called him at one point. I was talking about him on commentary earlier this week actually, and I nearly called him the inimitable Steph Rapazzo. And I was like, wait, that's not true at all. He's very imitable.
We're constantly imitating.
That's one of the great things about Steph is that he's got such a distinctive voice and style. It's why I love working with him. You know, he's a titan. Unforgettable is a better adjective, yeah.
A highly valuable and extremely exclusive import into the European Ultimate scene, and one that we will be very hesitant to ever let go of.
Right, coaching this weekend rather than being full-time on commentary with Is No Good from Noisy-le-Sec on the outskirts of Paris. Here's Catchup with the disc, downfield, straight into the defender's path. Well, must have been tunnel vision because came out of the blind spot and miscommunication in the end zone. So, well, one you could accuse of of just locking on the receiver. The other one you can accuse of, well, maybe not locking on enough.
It's a difficult situation as the turnovers are really starting to mount. We're coming towards the conclusive point of this game and of this wonderful Friday that we've had here.
What a day.
What a glorious day.
I mean, it's nearly 8:30 now. First game this morning was 9 o'clock, so it is almost a 12-hour day out here. The crew were on site from 7 o'clock this morning getting the pitches set up. It's been a thankless day for them. So if you are here at xEUCF and you see any of our ULTI.TV crew, make sure you buy them a well-earned Bruges. Or if you're not here and you want to get them a beer anyway, I highly suggest chucking the monetary equivalent of a beverage of your choice on our Patreon. You can find all the descriptions, or you can find all the links in the description of our YouTube channel. Underneath now is Felgic. She continues it towards the sideline. Saw that handler cut develop quite early. Another reset goes to Geisel. Geisel looking around there, really stretching the width of the pitch. Good communication there. One receiver left it for another, and it just slipped through the hands that time, as the discers want to do in these slippery conditions of Dario Kailani, and there's an injury called. So we're going to have a player come off. Just going to work out who it is. It is the number 21, František Šišpanek, who's come off and been replaced by Daniel Gladish.
That is a big defensive presence to have to come off the pitch.
But also not a bad one to bring on necessarily.
No, and maybe a bit more security into the offensive side of things.
Exactly. You know, they've been generating the turn, so maybe they feel a little bit of polish.
Could be good.
To convert it. Not necessarily a bad thing to have. Going to be a
5 turnovers apiece this point, bench.
Yeah, it's been another one of those sort of points. Dragashnik is going to come as well, just to get some fresh legs on for Catchup. Just trying to get a spy on the number of the player who's come off. It is Dario Kailani who had the disc slip through his hands there. I'm pretty sure that's not why he's come off. Just again trying to get player with a bit less lactic acid build up onto the field.
That's something I don't miss from my playing days.
Right, I know. You can see there's a concerted effort there to poach off the dump handler to create a bit more confusion and clogging downfield. And here is the man who came on in that injury sub, Daniel Gladish. Pivots around, a little bit of throw and go to get the reset free, continuing towards the far side of the field to give themselves a bit more space on the open side to work with. With this flick force at the moment from Catchup. Again, they're really rifling these throws in there. Hop makes the catch. Downfield, just floats out of the path. Another turnover.
Could be another Goliath point that goes Catchup's way just like the second point in this half.
Yeah, 5 turnovers aside, but eventually Catchup held. Last point before half, 7 turnovers in total, and Catchup broke.
Roofing the defender to get that disc down. Now surely he shoots it straight to the end zone.
Well, I don't think he wants to. Conservation of greatness perhaps, and that's a good catch by Ortner, because that was sinking like a stone. And she had to adjust her hands very quickly. This one under pressure. Defender gets enough to steal through. She's going to take off deep. Geisel tries to put the mark on and overcommits, but the receiver comes under. That's still a very nice gainer, but she dropped it. Jelesna maybe looking at the next pass, thinking who she was going to offload it to and continue into the end zone. Bit of a let-off there for Graz. Now this one goes down. Dragashnik tries to ascend over the defender, but good body position nice and early. I think there is a little bit of a crowd outside the 10 that has come and has turned their attentions to this game once they've realized what an engrossing contest it has become. Not that it was ever not that, to be honest. And now another big shot, looking for a receiver. Defender closes. Well, the good door was left ajar, and she almost barged her way through it.
When is an opening not an opening? When it's ajar.
I mean, I've joked before that any throw is open if you just throw it hard enough.
There's a logic to it.
Right? It's not always really hard. There's just, you need to
Hard enough.
You just need to find the right degree of hard to throw it through, and sometimes that's not very hard at all.
And sometimes that's extremely hard.
Yes, absolutely, and it's almost found that there. Geisel really commits the defender with the flick huck and goes for the backhand, but leftovers are all over that one.
Fantastic heads-up defense by Karolina
Železna.
Really smart. She saw the huck being lined up, peeled off her person, and was taken out down the pitch, getting that D.
And they're going to look deep themselves, and it's turned into, you know, sometimes you watch a football match and you get like the goalkeepers just punting it between each other.
Yep.
Feels like it's become a little bit of a punt off here. Teams playing a field position game.
Puck fest in hurling.
Well, how many turnovers have there been at this point, Lorcan?
Right now we're up to 17.
And
Catchup starting the point on defense, so this is their opportunity to break, to go 14-9 up, with which the time cap included makes it a game to 15.
I think that that probably emphasizes why the Ultimate is not necessarily at its cleanest. How can you find that best form? Can you maintain your shape and rhythm when there is so little left in the tank? That's a really nice right-handed snag going away from the receiver there by Keneally. Goes back, and it is ripped by Meissner. Can't get there. 18 turnovers now in this point. We're getting to the point where it's nearly double figures for each side. This is one hell of a grind.
It's impressive in its own way.
Feels a bit like trench warfare, neither side willing to give up an inch. Just kind of set, maybe just willing to take a couple of yards each time.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you're saying they're tired, they're frustrated, and that disc at this point isn't worth that much. So almost everybody's just feeling, I can take a shot in this, and maybe this will end the point.
Now, say someone is going to be able to make that highlight reel play. There is the lash deep and rushed it a little bit, and you can see it blade out of the hand early. Did not give the receivers a chance to track it down.
See, the problem there is you've seen them already make that much of a cut that you think the shot has to get out in front of them where they're running.
And you think
I disagree. Hang that shot up onto the far sideline. They already have 5 meters or more on their defender to take their time closing it out and catching it. People are always thinking, I have to shoot this to the end zone to catch up the fast person. No, shoot it to where their defender isn't and let them make it up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, see what the defense is giving you. If it's open towards this this near side across the pitch, that's where you put the shot.
Do you think Benjamin Funk is a great example of that? Someone who's always looking for that space shot for Clapham.
Here's Geisel. You think he's a little bit frustrated with the lack of movement downfield?
I think that's one of the things he's frustrated with.
Here's Keneally, dishes it back off to Geisel. He's trying to go every other, just take this game by the scruff of the neck and bend it to his will. But he's not finding it yet. Inside shot, through, dished off towards the near side. Eventually, Keneally scores. There were 19 turns that point by my count.
There was 19 turns at that point, ending in a break for Catchup Mixed, which it's important to note is only their second break of the half, but they got them in a row. They are knocking it out when it counts, and Leftovers are faced looking at oblivion.
Well, this is the real gut check for Leftovers. If they want to, you know, see themselves as a team that is contending for the upper end of European tournaments, now...
Then you have to go out there and contend for the upper end of European tournaments, which they have done a good job of doing in the second half. These last few points, they've let it slip away from them. Catchup Graz have come back into it. The most points that Leftovers have scored in a row is 2. So it's going to be difficult for them to really close this gap, but they don't have to win technically. And we've seen plenty of comebacks at this point in this tournament where the team comes all the way back to Universe or sudden death or whatever you want to call it and then loses anyway. And we were talking earlier on about all the different examples of that. In this instance, Leftovers would go through. So worth keeping the fight alive for them.
I'm trying to do calculations. I think even if Leftovers won this 15-14... No, because if Leftovers win, and they're in. We win and you're in. So it's always alive here for Leftovers. That pull is going to land in bounds.
Best pull of the game on the most crucial point for Graz.
What a time
Destiny
to find
seems to be calling.
It does, however, just slide out of that far sideline, but it is still very much coffin corner territory for Catchup. What a time to find that pull, trying to fake and move defenders around. into the center even. And the underneath pass comes, looking for some more movement downfield. There's a option available. Oh, it's going to float over. A couple of players come towards it. You can see what it means. They're not willing to leave an inch of skin out there. Happy to graze it off their body in order to keep the disc alive. This could be the final possession if they can punch it in. Bauer goes into the backfield where Schitter is wiping his hands. He's going to float one. This is going to be a chance to make a play over the top, making the grab. There's a player down on the floor. Couple of players down on the floor in a heap. And I wonder if there is some call being made here. Not seeing a hand signal. I tell you what, a fair few players underneath it. Catch-up receiver came over the top. How cleanly they got the grab, I don't know.
This is the danger in Ultimate. We call them hospital passes. They are quite dangerous. There is a bit of tongue-in-cheek humor in that, but especially in the mixed division, that's a rough one. And we understand the intensity leads to that kind of huge fight, but when there's that inaccuracy and it hangs up there for that long, generally this kind of thing is going to happen. You know how badly both sides want it. They've both been so fair, so clean through this whole game. Just in those little moments when Destiny reaches out from the heavens and extends her hand to you, you can become a bit too absorbed. I think that's going to be called a foul and a turnover in the end, Benji.
Yeah, uncontested offensive foul. Florian Mikey was coming at some speed, and I think in the end, he came over the back of Hadova to make the catch. He got the disc cleanly, but made a lot of contact as he did so, and good spirit, even in a game of this magnitude, that he is willing to say, okay, I agree with you, let's move on. The question is, can Leftovers do anything with it? Not at that time of asking, so another chance for the Austrians to close it out. Fake downfield. Then looking, desperately trying to find an option now, trying to isolate the reset. Hammer in towards the middle, creative way to find that dump space, but with a big force. Another hammer towards the end zone. What a way to ice this game. Sensational layout snag. And Catchup are 59 victors. This game almost could not have ended in any other way than a highlight reel snag like that one, Lorcan.
It's the ending the game deserved. It's the ending the game got. And you know what it isn't the ending of? Top quality Ultimate coming to you for free from xEUCF. We're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't even settled all of the quarterfinals yet. So where would you be tomorrow, apart from here on the ULTI.TV YouTube channel, watching the games?
I mean, I know where I'm going to be.
Oh, yeah, where?
I'm going to be here watching
me too.
the games. Hey!
We should hang out.
Yeah, it's a date.
Oh, I've been trying to get that for years, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to build on that, as that's a huge success to me, just like this is a huge success for Catch-Up Graz. They saw Destiny wink at them, and they're going over to get her phone number. Tomorrow morning, we'll see how it goes in their quarterfinal pre-match.
Wow, I mean, what a way to end the game, to end the day here, Lorcan. That's my 5th game so far today. I think you've done 5 as well. Hanny Withers has done 5 as well. It's been a long day for all of us. Our crew have done 7 games on the trot. They've put in a phenomenal shift here at ULTI.TV. So I think the least you can do is like, share, subscribe, do the notification button thing, and if you can afford it, and if everyone could just chuck in a few quid, believe me, what ULTI.TV could do,
Look what we do on a shoestring.
It would be phenomenal to be able to bring you more games like that one. So for all of our ULTI.TV crew here on the ground, bringing you Field 2 all day, we've had Felix, Chips and Rob. For the wonderful Lorcan Murray doing the most exaggerated way you can imagine. I am Benji Reese. Thank you so much. We'll see you at 9 AM sharp tomorrow morning.
9.
And we'll see you on the other side. Beer?
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
ULTI.TV.